You're now listening to Chaos Culture Radio. I'll be your host, Hakeem Bello. You can catch us on themediabums.com. For you fools who don't listen, THEMEDIABUMS.com. I came to give you life, culture, and tell you how to grow your money tree. And everything else, holla at me. Chaos Culture Radio, back once again.
Oh yeah, we here. It's a Friday. We feeling good, people. We hope you're feeling good. You know, I gotta talk to y'all because, you know, it's more power to the people.
Brat. Once again for another episode, seeing what we talking about today. When keeping it real goes wrong.
Yeah, when keeping it real goes wrong. Can you keep it too real? Can you keep it real and stay alive is the question. So I'm just going to throw the ball in your court and let you, talk to the people about what you're thinking.
Oh, okay. I think I can answer that mostly for a lot of my ghetto brothers who's been in the streets. You know what I'm saying? I've been in the streets quite some time. You can't keep it real and stay alive at the same time. You know what I mean? But not only that, both of the terms are an oxymoron. You know what I mean? For most people know. So, especially when a lot of people pump up on masculinity and try to prove something, you know what I mean, you're going to get caught up in the catch-22. You know what I mean? Especially living in an ethnic enclave. I got to start using big words for a lot of you suckers and you goofies so I can get you to elevate. You know what I mean? Especially for my brothers who's chilling on the corners. But on the real, though, keeping it real going to end you up in prison or 6 feet deep. You know what I'm saying? And for some famous words, I'd rather be judged by 12 than be carried by 6. You know what I mean? So for a lot of people who don't understand that term is, you can't, I guess, there's a bunch of things that have been going on, but we can use an example as keeping it real. You have a lot of these guys who perpetuate a certain type of lifestyle, being a ghetto lifestyle, especially like a young brother Kodak. You know what I mean? He had a little issue speaking his mind too much. But, he perpetuates himself to be a gangster, a trap. And, you know what I mean, said some things that was not very nice in a moment where he got in trouble for it. And usually jeopardized his whole money. You know what I mean? And that's the thing, you know what I mean? In that whole essence of trying to keep it real, you just need to keep it being yourself.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. With, everything that's been going on, again, we're going to say another RIP to Nipsey Hussle, his family. They did a beautiful send-off. But, the beauty of his situation was that he was so about keeping it authentically real with himself that he was like, hey, I'm going to get this money and I'm going to come back to my neighborhood and I'm going to invest in my neighborhood. And we talk about that a lot. We fantasize about, making it out and then saying like, is it wrong for people to just, when they make it out, to actually leave and go to a nice area and go to suburbs? Or should we make that money and come home, And I think there's a way to do it where you can benefit the people in your area, but then you can also still maintain a safe, being safe. I think the beauty of what happened with our brother Nipsey is that, people talk about him being fearless, that he loved his hood so much that he was like, hey, I'm willing to be a martyr. And we see that a lot, that martyrs are celebrated. But, it's just sad. It's sad to lose people, even if they are willing to sacrifice themselves to be an example, it still sucks. I think personally for me, I think there has to be a balance where the way you get back to the hood is by keep on moving forward and being successful. Yeah, we can come back and buy the block. We can come back and employ people, but that doesn't mean I have to stay there and monitor. I will have somebody else working that. I don't know. What you think about that?
No, for me personally, I don't support that.
You don't think?
I'm going to stay in the hood.
Yeah.
That's just me. I want to stay in the hood. I want to be around folks that look like me, that support me, and who's going to. There's certain things you're going to have to, certain sacrifices you're going to have to make, and I guess you yourself might be one. Don't get me wrong. I do agree with a lot of other stuff you're saying. You do have to elevate, But I guess the thing is, as far as keeping it real, you have to keep it real. The only reason why I say what he did was a noble situation is you going back to give something where you probably helped to damage. Now you coming back to help rebuild it. And a dusty Negro took his hatred out on you. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes it's just opportunity and chance. That's the only thing. Because I think is when you grow up in a place like that, there was nothing over there for people. Not even a fish fry. People didn't want to buy nothing. He was able to brought businesses back there. All it takes is for one people to go back and influence a narrative. I do think that his situation was a little bit out of the norm, but you do have a lot of other people who try to get back to the neighborhood, but they still be in the crosshairs of certain illegal activities. That's why a lot of people who might come back and try to give and get shot or killed, or they're in situations that people say, hey, he shouldn't have been there. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, why is he doing this? Or why is he hanging with that person? You know what I'm saying? It's just the same way as you don't have to be hard or to try to show somebody how tough you are. All you have to do is just walk away. You know what I mean? Like, and the thing about it is a lot of you goofy, buck dancing, Tom Joyner ass cats, a lot of y'all don't even know what the definition of real is. I'm going to read it for you. Real. Actually existing as a thing, occurring in fact, not imagined or supposed. Julius Caesar was a real person. You feel me trying to say? And when I say a real person, he did something and affected the world. And that's how you people got to do. Nipsey was a real person. You know what I mean? He affected the world and he lead off by example. He did not try to be a tough guy. He wasn't even gangbanging at the end of his life. You feel what I'm saying? So that's what a lot of people got to understand when they hear that word real. I don't even use that word everywhere anytime. I think I'm myself now. That's the term that I use that now I'm in my late 30s. I'm myself.
Yeah. I think, there is a fine line because I think we have to redefine what keeping it real is, because the same person would say keeping it real is acting dumb, not reading, not having knowledge. Like, we come from communities where it's like in school, if you answer some questions or if you're smart, oh, you think you all that. Oh, you not real because you think you all that because you trying to learn something. So this is why I say the keeping it real thing is we have to redefine it, because keeping it real means I have to pretend I'm dumb so you can like me or so you can think I'm cool. I don't think that's keeping it real. I think that's keeping it real ignorant. You know what I'm saying? Like, people have died. Like Frederick Douglass, which is one of our ancestors, he was lucky enough to learn how to read. This is why he became such an impact after the slavery days, because he fought to learn how to read. And once because back in those days, it was against the law for us to read. They did everything they could for us to not read. So it's like, even till today, we still feel those effects. Because I remember growing up younger where we would try to be so hard or try to be so tough that you don't even want people to know you read. And that ain't it. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, as we move forward, it's like definitely the beautiful thing about this individual was he was real by his actions. He wasn't real by acting tough or acting fake or pretending. He was real by the work he was actually doing, which is taking his money, going back to these places and trying to rebuild, going back to try and, buy the plaza that you used to hang out in. That's real change. You know what I'm saying? And that is inspiring. But at the same time, I just feel like, if I can be around like-minded people, this doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, I'm going to pick up and move to an all-suburban neighborhood, because trust and believe, sometimes we not even wanted there. Oh, yeah. But my point is, if I can find an area where there are elevated minds, brown people that's elevated, that's trying to do by right, yeah, I'm going to move far away from the people who are not trying to do right. Because guess what? I don't have time. I don't have time to give energy to people that's negative or, because we know there's levels to this this, you know what I'm saying, this hood shit. There's levels to it. It's not just, you know what I mean? There's all kinds of people who live in the neighborhood, but there are those that are just ain't really for nobody, not even for themselves. And unfortunately, you see what a person like that can do. They will take the life of another person. You know what I'm saying? So definitely we're in the realm where we have to start evaluating and redefining what keeping it real is. You know what I'm saying? Even for a sister, our sisters, y'all ain't gotta be natural to keep it real. But hey, maybe one day you want to find out how you look with your natural hair. You know what I mean? I have locks. So that's my way of keeping it real, because I'm getting to know my real self. Like you said, it comes down to who are you authentically. You know what I mean? What type of life are you trying to lead? So let's start thinking about what that means, what keeping it real means to us. And hopefully we can come up with a definition that has to do with uplifting ourselves and, respecting ourselves and being held accountable, for our actions. Having awareness of self. Let's hope that we can take the keeping it real idea and make it be about having awareness of who we are and how we can play a part in the real world if we quote unquote gonna keep it real. You know what I'm trying to say?
Oh no, most definitely. I can think that translates into different other aspects as well. You can also say, there's a term me and my homeboy use, Dr. No Job, and we give him a shout out. You know what I mean?
Dr. No Job?
Yeah, Dr. No Job. He is my enlightener.
Dr. No Job.
He is my teacher. He is the one who had awakened my knowledge of self. You know what I mean? From me leaving the Sahara deserts of Miami, going to Boston, I met a brother. No, on some real stuff. He awakened this, and
that was your Morpheus.
Basically,
whoa!
He gave me
and you decided to take you took the blue pill.
I took the blue pill. So the thing.
Wait. I think what's the blue pill? The blue pill is to go back to sleep, right?
I think it was the red pill. It was the red pill. So
yeah.
Me and him, we constantly on conversations, and we talk about being on code. After you learn what being real is, then you can learn to be on code. I'm not going to get in depth on being on code because that could be a little bit controversial for a lot of folks here. Everybody has their own ideology. I have mine.
Yeah, for sure.
White folks have theirs.
But that's because now you have an awareness. So now
I do. I have an awareness. So being on code is what Nipsey Hussle seemingly what he was working on.
Yeah.
And a lot of brothers are not on code. And this is why we have a lot of debacles out here. Yeah. So, and that's the thing is, you just got to learn to be on code, man. Love your people. Love who you are. Don't think trying to assimilate into another culture or another society was going to help you the progression for yourself. You have to sometimes sacrifice yourself for your own people, and that's what Nipsey did. He could be considered like a modern day Malcolm X in a sense from a ghetto standpoint. You know what I'm trying to say? He was a heavily believer in the Nation of Islam. He read the Message to the Black Man, stuff like that. He believed in self-enterprising and giving back to the neighborhood, same thing as the Nation did. They still in the ghetto. Right on 54th and 7th. Nation of Islam is still there. So, you know what I mean? So that's the thing. Brothers and sisters, be on code. You know what I mean? Just be on code.
Yeah. And, again, maybe sometimes the transition is going to be really looking in the mirror, and really saying, who am I? Because once you ask that question, who am I? Then you can start to say, okay, this is who I am, this is who I'm not. You can it's okay to question things, you know what I'm trying to say? But I think it starts with looking in the mirror and say, like for me, like I said, even down to my hair, that was something that influenced how I thought about myself because, your hair is your identity. And for, women of color, a lot of us, because of, traditional things that we've learned, getting our hair perm as young people, we immediately was already stripped from knowing ourselves because we didn't know our own hair texture. To me, that was a big part of knowing who I was, to define for myself what being myself was, keeping it real for me was going to mean. And it had to do with my hair. I had to say, okay, well, I'm going to cut the perm off. You know what I mean? I'm going to deal with the quote unquote ugly stages. You know what I'm trying to say? And really look myself in the mirror and start to embrace. You know, you got to start to embrace everything about yourself so you can get down to understanding, like, what is it you trying to be? You know, who you want to be. Because once you know who you are, then you can decide who you want to be. You know, and then the same thing with just learning your history, man. So, but I would say definitely start to question. Look in the mirror. Start to look around you. Look at your community. You know what I mean? Open a book. You know, talk to an OG. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's start talking to the young people. Let's start talking to each other to find out people's stories, to see, like, damn, how we all connect, how we all play a role in each other's life. You know, so, you know, I'm, like I said before, I'm a person that I'm all for, you know, staying within the hood environment, but I'm also a person that goes by my gut feeling. And if I'm not feeling something, I'm not going to stay for comfort. You have to grow and evolve. So it's just about finding your space. Like you said, how the Muslim brothers and stuff like that, they still in the neighborhood, but you find your way to do it, to establish yourself to where it's smart. You're not just being a lick. Because keeping it real or wanting to go back to the hood, you can make yourself a lick, right? A target.
Yeah, definitely.
You don't want to be gullible.
That's all depends on how you moving around. If you moving around, you see, the thing is, a lot of these guys get crossed up with A, not being prepared, 2, being involved in certain activities they're not supposed to be. You know what I mean? And 3, also being aware of the healthy and haters that have come. And 4, this is somewhat of a conspiracy theory to government. Mm-hmm. If you're trying to topple whatever structure that's already put down, you know what I mean, you need to be careful.
Yeah, and you know, be mindful, you know, learn about the cycles. I do want to say there is a documentary that I recently was put onto called The Bastards of the Party. And it talks about the origins of the Bloods and the Crips. And just even that definition for them, why they chose to keep it real the way they have over the years, you know, over, 20 years, 30 years. I would say it's on YouTube. Check it out because it's just more knowledge of ourselves and why we are the way we are. Because like you said, there's a reason why people do things in the way they are. We're tough people. The hood can be a dark place. But of course, a place that doesn't have proper food, a place that has liquor stores in every corner, a place that usually gets targeted, or a place that usually doesn't have proper education would be what? It would be a bad area, right?
Yeah, a ghetto.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, why are these places designated that way? Why are people forced to live under conditions like this? So it's good to start understanding our history and how we started out like this. You know what I mean? And where it all came from. And once we know why things are the way they are, then we can start to say, okay, damn, you know what? For the next generation, we're going to change it up. For the next generation, like from the documentary, you know, this is not really a spoiler, but one thing I found fascinating was one of the Crip brothers was talking about how his name was like Babyface or something like that, right? It was a popular name. And he had a son, and they're like, the way you change a cycle, do not call your son Little Babyface, because you're setting him up to take on the trials and tribulations, to take on the weight that you carry, you know? So one of the things was like changing your name. You know what I mean? Give him a name like Hakeem Bello. You know what I'm trying to say? Something that would empower him to make him feel like, hey, that, because even going back to Nipsey Hussle, his name actually meant God's creation, I believe.
Or God's rising.
Yeah. Amir, how do you say his name?
I don't even pronounce that.
Ermias.
Yeah, I'm not even trying to butcher that man's name.
So, but the point is, his actual name had power. So let's even think about the names. If you out here, you know what I'm saying, living your life, you creating families. Think about the names you give your kid. You know, like when they laugh about the Shaniquas and these names. These names have power. They mean something. They are creative. You know what I'm saying? So let's start embodying and understanding our power of how we can set ourselves up to succeed. You know, and that's how we keep it real. I think you keep it real by setting yourself up to succeed. And if you can't figure it out for yourself, set it up for the next generation.
No, most definitely. And that's really it for me. I don't got no much else to say on that.
Once again, another great episode. We love y'all. We out of here.
For sure. Holla at us. Peace. Man, I just appreciate y'all just listening. Stay tuned for the next episode.